call the hearings to order. I'm going to ask Councilman Cook to lead us in the prayer and Councilman Castile to lead us in the pledge.
Dear God, bless the work of our hands, the work of our minds, and the work of our hearts. May each day be an offering of worship to you. May your goodness flow through our every deed, and may you keep us, shelter us, protect us, and feed us, that we may be blessed with the finances we need and have the love and grace to give generously to all that are in need. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We welcome you to today's budget review. This meeting is a departmental budget review session. If you wish to address the council, a green sheet should be filled out and given to the council clerk, Ms. Veronica Williams, seated to my left. I'm requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only, and the right side of the auditorium be reserved for the budget and finance staff. I'm also requesting that anyone who approaches the podium please state their name and title for the official record. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all cell phones and electronic devices shall be silenced from this point forward. This meeting is to address matters related only to the proposed budget document. Please request that all other matters specific to city parish government business be directed to the administration and that it not be addressed at this public forum. The budget document has been posted on the website at www.lafayettela.gov under Finance. Public comment will be held immediately following each budget hearing on matters related to that specific departmental's budget. All council members are reminded that there are 3 possible actions that can be taken during these hearings. A council member may propose changing the budget by offering one of the following. Of course, if someone offers a general amendment and there is no objection to that general amendment, that matter will go forward as a general amendment to be now considered change in the budget document. A separate amendment then happens if someone offers a general amendment and there's an objection to that. Let me remind you that if someone will object, there is no debating at this stage. It'll simply go down as a separate amendment and it'll be addressed at budget adoption separately and apart from the actual budget document. And finally, a council member may also choose to mark an item for wrap-up. I have received at least one request today. A council member may also choose to mark an item for wrap-up discussion to allow time to receive additional information. And I remind you also on those, if you are in possession of that information, please make the clerk aware of it, as well as myself, so it could be taken off of our to-do list. And finance could scratch that off of their need to provide list to minimize the amount of work that comes in on those last critical days. You could request information from a director, agency head, or the following. If you receive and review information again, and you choose to come back later, you could perform an action on that. So if you do become in receipt of information as far as dollar amounts or anything that would then move you to come back and make a budgetary amendment, you could do that upon notification to myself, and then we would allow it prior to going into the next budget cycle. Want to announce that Councilmember William Terrio is unable to attend today's review. Okay? I don't have any announcements at this time. I will now open up the floor for any council announcements. Any council members have announcements or requests from a prior hearing or session? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Douillon, is there anything the administration want to offer before we actually get started for today?
No, sir, none at this time. Mr. Robideau will be here shortly.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, again, we're going to be going department by department. We have a number of hearings scheduled for today. Some are not quite as long as previous hearings. Before we do that, let me first announce that there is a request for information for wrap-up, and this comes from Council Member Lewis, representing District 3. This is related to the Clifton Chenier Health Unit and Town Hall building. Repair and replace, roof flashing and counter flashing and replacement. the dormer, the skylight removal and re-roofing with metal. Gonna need a specific budgetary amount from Public Works. There is a cost estimate, but we want to nail that down. And if you could provide that to him for wrap-up, so in the event he chooses to take action, and we will provide this to you if it hasn't already been done so. You could, so first let me go. Mr. Lewis, does that satisfy your request?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman. It will.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to provide this. Madam Clerk, do you have a copy of this already? Okay, I'm going to provide a copy to you and make sure that Public Works, Finance, and Administration, please get a copy of this. Mr. Kong?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This request apparently didn't make it to your attention, but I would like for wrap-up regarding the Acadiana Crime Lab allocation of $250,000, which is in the city court budget. My intent is to remove or reduce that allocation. So what I'm requesting for wrap-up is a couple of questions to be answered. Is there an expected deficit in the lab budget if Lafayette's contribution is withdrawn? How much? And what would be Lafayette's prorated share according to state law? And I'll address details at the appropriate time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And the clerk actually did forward that. I didn't get a printed copy, but I did get it in the form of an email. I was aware of it. So let that be duly noted, and we're going to provide a written copy to the respective departments to make sure we could get the appropriate responses on those as well. Okay, seeing no other business from prior sessions, we're going to start off with City Court, and this is going to be on page 122. Ms. Toops?
I do have a graph for City Court. City Court's budget is projected to be $2.4 million in this proposed budget. Of that amount of money, $1.4 million is generated through City Court fines. The City General Fund subsidizes City Court $856,000, and you'll see a new slice in this pie, and that's the portion from the Parish General Fund. It was brought to our attention that state statutes require that the Parish General Fund pay a portion of City Court judges' salaries and of the City Marshal's salary. So you will see those two new items in this proposed budget. They are not asking for an increase in personnel strength. Their strength is remaining the same. Overall, the budget is expected to increase by about 3.5%.
All right. Thank you very much. Judge and Judge, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Anything y'all want to add before we get started?
Any extra money, just darn it, nobody ever has extra.
Good try.
No,
I
believe you're
have
good.
nothing to add. I guess my name, Judge Francie Bouillon, the presiding judge of City Court. With me is our court administrator, Lawrence Stout, and everyone knows the esteemed Judge Doug Saloon.
Right. Well, thank you all for being here.
Sure.
Members, we're on page 122. It's at the bottom third of that page 122, and top of 123, please. Okay, let's go to the capital for City Court. There is none, actually. 2018, there's no capital. Let's go to the Manning tables, 295, page 295, the Manning tables of City Court. Right in the middle of the page. As indicated, no increases personnel-wise. Another clean bill of health.
We try to
Very
keep it
concerned.
that way.
Appreciate it.
Questions, we'll try to answer them, but
Yeah.
We do have one issue that the building, but I don't know if the tree huggers of Lafayette will be happy with us, but it's not on our budget now. We've been having some consistent roof issues. The city's been out there recently, and they kind of isolated to the cypress trees that are adjacent to our building. We didn't take any steps to do anything about it this year. We may end up, if we do, we'll do it internally. We're not sure what to do. We won't do anything until the council is aware of issues. We've had the cypress needles are clogging our drains on the roof, and we're not getting to it sometimes in enough time to stop it from leaking inside the building. Laura, you'd have to tell me who is doing it. The city's aware of it. They've put us on a monthly schedule to clear the roof, to make sure the drains on top are clear. If that solves the problem, then we might just let it be. But that would be the only issue. It won't affect this year's budget, but we just want y'all to be aware of it on the capital side, that should we have to do something with that, it will be brought to y'all's attention. Whether we fund it or ask y'all to fund it, we'll cross that bridge later.
Gotcha. Okay. Are there any green cards for this department? No? Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Appreciate
y'all.
you being here.
thank you.
Thank you.
I heard that. We're going to go to page 125. Next will be the Register of Voters. Register of Voters. Ms. Toops?
I do not have a chart for the Registrar of Voters. The Registrar of Voters is a parish mandate and is paid for from the parish general fund. When we flip to page 126, I do have a proposed amendment. They do not have any changes in their manning table. They have 7 positions.
Okay, why don't you go and indicate what that amendment will be so a member could make that consideration when we get there.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and Connie will distribute copies. From the time we prepared the budget book till today, we learned that the state is going to suspend the performance adjustments that were estimated in this budget. So therefore, we can reduce promotion cost, and that would be account number 105-1151-50300 promotion cost. We would like to reduce it by $1,080. However, after discussing this with the registrar, she was very concerned about having enough money in printing and binding, so she would like to move that money to printing and binding, and that would be account number 105-1151-70300. Both of those on page 126.
All right. So when we get to that location, members, the amendment has actually been prepared. I think Bellard indicated that he'll take care of that, so at the appropriate time, we'll do that. Did you have anything else for the register?
I'm sorry, no, sir, that's it.
Okay.
Hi, Charlene Moe Menard, Registrar of Voters for Lafayette Parish. How y'all doing?
We good. How you doing?
Okay.
Anything, did you want to add anything else? That was the only concern you had?
Yeah, what it is our printing of our poll list, of course, comes prior to the election and prior to early voting, and that was one concern there, because sometimes like the November election, the expenses come out of the previous fiscal year's finances, but we do get reimbursed for that through the Secretary of State's office. And with the major elections starting to come up next year and so on, I know the absentee balloting will increase by mail voters. So that's another thing that's always in advance, is like 45 days before the election. So just whatever extra money I have, and that's what I would be using it for, would be to mail the ballots and printing of the poll list.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're on page 125 at the E. extreme bottom, 125 and top of 126. Mr. Bellard?
Yes, I'd like to propose a general amendment, page 126, Fund 105, Parish General Fund 105-1151-50-300-0, promotional costs. It states it's 1997 to reduce it to 917, and then 105-1151-70-300-0, printing and bonding 560 to 1640. Is that correct, Ms. Stoops?
Yes, sir.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's all I have.
There's an amendment being offered by Bellard to the respective account numbers that was named. The document is in front of you. Any objections to this? There are none. This will go forward as a general amendment. Still on 126. $269, capital. Register of Voters Capital, 269. Right to that top half of the page, replacing a copier. 296, manning tables. Bottom of page and one at the top of the following page on 297. All righty. Closing?
I wanted to, for y'all to keep this in mind, I was interested in doing a website for the Lafayette Parish Registrar of Voters. And of course, that would have to be funded through y'all. And I was wondering if I had extra funding like left after could we start that where everything's starting to go online?
Yeah. You would have to propose an amendment if that's not
It's
something
not
that
for
has been
today,
identified.
but I wanted y'all to
No,
keep
I'm talking
that.
about at the appropriate time.
Okay.
As you're going through the year, I'm assuming that might be, once you get into it, you would get with finance so it could be identified properly.
Okay.
And then it would be brought back to us for consideration at that time.
I had gotten a couple of estimates. It's like $3,000 to $5,000 to make the page. And basically, it just bings back to the Louisiana Secretary of State's office, but it would show you, y'all as the council, and then like us as the employees, and certain questions if they had just file parish.
Gotcha. Mr. Bellard?
And I don't know if that's something maybe our T department could help you with,
Okay.
to maybe cut down on the costs. That would be a question for them, but we could also, if you would visit with them or give it one of us or Lori or the administration, and maybe that could lower the cost too. Just a
Great.
suggestion.
Great, thanks.
Any green cards?
Yes, sir, we do have green cards. The first speaker, Thetis Cusimano.
Good afternoon. I'm Thetis Cusimano. I'm representing the League of Women Voters of Lafayette today. I'm a member and I guess primary investigator in this issue. First, we'd like to support Ms. Momenard's request for the website. I think that would be very helpful to Lafayette voters. One of the missions of the League, one of our very important missions is protecting voting rights. And so we're speaking to the current early voting location at 1010 Lafayette Street on the courthouse annex. And you should have, I hope, in front of you our request. And the issue was this fall's super turnout for the presidential election. It caused a great many problems because of the early voting location. Ms. Mominar's staff and Ms. Mominard herself were extremely expeditious to the very best of their abilities, but using the hall, the stairwells, the hall upstairs, the 4-H room, and her office, the overflow was back out onto the street. The line was waiting to go up on the stairwell and the line coming down. In the event of any extraordinary unpleasantness of any problems with the facility during that day, it would have been almost impossible to evacuate it as an observer, I would say. There were also difficulties with people who were obese, particularly being on the steps, people who could not stand that long. They left. We talked to a number of people coming in and out and observed ourselves. They couldn't get in and out, and the elevators are very small, the lobby's very small. There were security guards, there were people in wheelchairs and people with walkers waiting for the two elevators, and the people were coming out and people waiting, and then people coming in the front door and people coming down the stairwell, plus the line coming from the stairwell lined up from outside. So you can, I'm sure some of you perhaps early voted and observed the same thing. So to address the issue, we always like to do some research, and we did talk with the clerk of court to understand that it's not his bailiwick. Of course, with Ms. Mo Menard, to understand it is her bailiwick, but she's not the funding agent. It's your budget, and that's why we're here today. 17 other parishes in Lafayette, including St. Martin and St. Mary, have additional early voting locations. Lafayette, however, is the fifth most populated parish in the state and the fourth largest city in the state with population, and we do not have more than one early voting location. We would never presume to suggest those to you, but you do own many public facilities, other public facilities that are only first floor buildings with big parking lots. We like to try to offer you some solutions, and so since our request is to comply with the ADA and HAVA, we did speak with the Commissioner of Elections, the Secretary of State, and we spoke also with the HAVA compliance officer, because it is a federal right, accessibility at the polls. And we were referred by Mr. Perrette to an accounting officer who worked with the initial pilot programs for the HAVA funding to the local parishes. He referred us to the two laws in 2006 and 2010 that provided funding to the parish, local parish government. And he suggested that the council might approach, or the league might approach, a legislator to sponsor a bill in the next session that would perhaps offer some financial assistance in that initial setup of the machines and the initial cost. We approached Representative Cousin through his staff member, and she has replied that he's quite interested, and he was going to contact the man in the accounting department at the Secretary of State. That was Friday. So we look forward to following the progress of the council on this matter. We would ask that we have adequate and accessible, fully accessible early voting location before the 2019 gubernatorial election and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Dale Hahn.
Good afternoon. My name's Nell Hahn, and I'm a member and the vice chair of the Lafayette Consolidated Government's Disability Awareness Committee, and I'm here to speak in support of the suggestion that was just put before you. And I had another member of the committee who was here, but he had to excuse himself. He wasn't feeling well. But we feel very strongly that it's very important that people with disabilities have an equal right to vote with everybody else. And from what I understand, that was not true in the last general big election where we had a lot of people with interest in the election. And this isn't, I would urge you to certainly take advantage of whatever state funding might be available, but this is not optional. This is a legal requirement that the that all city programs, but particularly something as important as voting, must be accessible to people with disabilities on an equal basis. And I don't think that's, it's not something where you can wait and see if the state funds it, and then if they don't, say, oh, well, we tried. This needs to be done, whether or not the state makes funding available. I hope they do. But anyway, the committee feels strongly about this, and I hope that, and also this is part of this problem is the problem of the downtown sidewalks, because people need to be able to park and then get up onto the sidewalk, and I know that that's a problem at that building. I hope that that's in the first wave of things that are going to be fixed under the plan to repair the downtown sidewalks and curb cuts, but if it isn't, it should be added to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say, remember that y'all could always go to the website and apply to vote by mail from your home. You could vote from your home if you're not able to get to a site to vote.
Next speaker, please.
I'm sorry, could I just respond for a second?
Actually, your time has
Okay.
expired. Yeah. She was just, I think, giving a suggestion for those, but
Yes.
as it relates to the budget, yeah, your time
Right,
has expired.
but just the thing is
No,
that...
I said your time had
All right.
expired.
I'll write you.
Mr. Chair, Jared Scott, he signed in, did not wish to speak, but supports accessible sites for early voting for people with disabilities. That's the final speaker.
Thank you. So, Ms. Moore, I know we've met on this matter. Have you started to work up any dollar amounts that it would take to achieve this? I know early voting falls on the responsibility of the registrar, unlike day of voting. For wrap-up, if you could just provide that to all members.
Okay.
The cost of, not so much a location, that could be determined, but the staffing and equipment needs,
Yes.
so
Well, I
that
had the,
consideration can be given.
Okay, because I had some of the early voting history from till 2014, and basically the only election that it was a problem was this last election that we had, so.
Just provide those numbers for consideration, please.
Sure will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
Next, we're going to move to the Office of Homeland Security. That'll be on page 141. Could go to 141. Ms. Hebert?
Thank you, Chairman. Going back to the Register of Voters Office, discussing possible locations, I was going to propose that we consider the Cajun Dome and Convention Center as a location. Plenty of parking, as we know, single floor or elevator access, great facility, but I may be biased to that, my experience there. Just wanted us, for the record, have that on record.
Okay.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on 141, Office of Homeland Security. Lori?
Hi, I do not have a graph for the Office of Homeland Security, but you do have a bar chart that was supplied to you from the Budget Department. You can see that it is pretty much a status quo budget, and we do not fund positions in this department.
Okay.
Craig Stansberry, I'm the Director, Office of Homeland Security, Emergency Preparedness. My Assistant Director, Linda Laverne.
Thank you so much for being here. We're on page 141. There are a couple of items there. 800 megahertz radio system. It's about, if you look underneath the general accounts, that's under some contractual services. That's for $100,000. It's about a third of the way down the page. And you're going to find their second item all the way to the bottom, about 4 lines up, Office of Emergency Preparedness. There's a small decrease there, a $96,000 line item. You could look at those if you have any questions. You could chime in at this time. That's on 141. Seeing none, let's go to 142. There's going to be a single item there about the middle of the page. That's line item 76530. Again, this is an external appropriation for Office of Emergency Preparedness. That's also a $96,000 line item. Seeing no questions, let's go to page 220. $69,010, again, contractual services. This is...
Almost to the bottom.
Say that again?
Almost to the bottom.
Yeah. About 5 lines up under general accounts, and this is the corresponding line item, 69010, 27950. Okay. Easy like a Sunday morning.
Sir, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
There's no capital and there's no manning tables for this organization. So, any closing?
No, sir.
All good? Good.
Thank you very much.
Any green cards for this department? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next department we're going to have is the assessor. That'll be starting on 141. Ms. Toops?
The assessor is a parish mandate, so we do not have a chart for the assessor. What the state law mandates is that the parish general fund pay these expenditures, and then it bills out these expenditures to all the taxing bodies who get a percentage of parish-wide property tax.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's city and parish-wide property tax. So that's why you'll see the big expense in the parish general fund, and then you'll see the portion of all the special revenue funds that get a portion of ad valorem or property tax.
Got you. Yes, sir.
Want to make a deal?
Nah, this
After what I just heard from the registrar of voters, how about if I pay for half that amount, and you take the half that I'm paying you to do the wheelchair access for our building? It's roughly $32,000. I know everybody's strapped for money, so I'm willing to make that concession. I'll pay for half this amount if y'all put in those wheelchair access ramps, because that not only benefits them, it benefits my office, 4-H office, sheriff's office, all of us.
I mean, obviously, it's a great gesture, we're gonna need a lot more people to chime in on that. I don't know if you're gonna have a timeline to that as far as what Public Works could do, but I would ask that Mr. Douillon, if you would, in preparation for Public Works budget hearing, if that's something that is actually on the radar, if we could make those considerations. I think the appropriate to do here now is look at the dollar amounts.
Yeah, it won't work quite that easy, because
Of course
if he's picking up half the cost, what it will do is save half the cost throughout all those special revenue funds that receive a dedicated tax. So if he picks up half the cost, then it saves the drainage fund half the cost. But that money is restricted to drainage. I can't use it for wheelchair access at the building. Now, in turn, we could enter into an intergovernmental agreement, and he could ask us, give us the $32,000 for us to do that. But we can always do that at a later time.
Right. And that's why I say we could get Public Works involved through the CAO, and you all make the numbers work, and we could come back to that.
Okay.
All right. That's all you have?
Any questions?
On page 141, there's actually one item identified. I think there were two items. One of them was zeroed out, but line item 57031, about the top third of the page, software maintenance. And then right below that, there was aerial photography. Again, it's zeroed out, but it is an assessor line item. And that's on 141. We're going to recess. We're going to come back to the assessor.
Any other questions?
On page 142, there are a couple of line items there. Again, 57031. There's two of those on page 142. Software maintenance assessor, 65,100. Seeing no questions. 143. There is a total of 4 items there. You're looking for, again, the same item, 57031. Little above halfway up, software maintenance assessor. Then in the middle, again, software maintenance. Then to the bottom, software maintenance. Seeing no questions, let's go to 144. Same number, 57031. But the top third, software maintenance. A little under half, software maintenance. Seeing no questions, let's go to 217. $57,031, little above halfway, software maintenance, $4,069. Seeing nothing, there's no capital and no manning table.
I'm out of here. Thank you
Out
very
of
much.
here. Any green cards? No green cards. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move to the Louisiana Cooperative Extension Service, the county agent, page 216. Ms. Toops.
I do not have a chart for the Cooperative Extension Service. It is funded from the Parish General Fund. The budget is a status quo budget, and there are no positions funded directly in our budget.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Charles A. Bear, County Agent, Parish Chair with the Lafayette, LSU, and Southern University Ag Center.
Good to have you. Everything's well?
Yes, sir.
Good.
When the state has a level budget, we're good.
All right, we're on 216, page 216. As indicated, there's no changes, status quo. No capital, no, yeah, I thought you, no manning tables. You good, y'all?
Yes, sir.
No green cards? All right,
Thank
you so
y'all. We
much.
appreciate y'all's support.
Yes, sir. Next, we're going to move to the Justice of the Peace, page 122.
The Justice of the Peace and the constables are a parish mandate and are funded from the parish general fund. They are budgeting a slight reduction from last year and 18 positions, and those are our justices of the peace and constables that the parish has to pay for.
Barbara Broussard, Justice of the Peace, Lafayette Parish.
Good to see you.
Same here.
Page 122, middle of the page. Let's go to the manning tables on 295. 295. Right underneath council office. All righty. Good?
Thank you.
Any
Very good.
green cards? No green cards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good afternoon.
Municipal Civil Service, page 213.
I do have a chart for municipal civil service. Muni- Municipal civil service is funded 69% from the city general fund and 31% from the parish general fund. They're budgeting 6 positions. There's no change in the number of positions and a slight increase in their operating budget of about 2%.
Welcome.
Thank you. Adam Marcantel, Civil Service.
If you don't mind, I got a kind of old guy right here sitting to my left. Might have to get on that mic.
Is this good? Adam Marcantel, Civil Service Director. Good to see you.
Thank you. We're on page 213, members. 213. There's no capital on the manning table on 313. All the way to the bottom. Top of 314. No questions? Anything on this? You good?
Not on this,
Any
sir.
green cards on this one? Okay, we're gonna go straight into fire and police civil service. Fire and police civil service on 214.
Fire and police civil service are both city functions, so they are funded, it's funded 100% from the city general fund, and they are budgeting a slight decrease in expenditures. They have 1 employee in that position, and that's no change.
Okay.
So I'll step here as just, obviously I don't represent Fire and Police Civil Service. I do help prepare their budget, so if any questions that you guys might have, I hope I can answer it. I can't answer, obviously, for the chairman or vice chair of the board in their expenditures, but anything else I might answer. Also have some additions after y'all go through the budget at the end to a request from the chair, so.
You have requests?
Yes.
Yes, you could actually go through those now, and if it's going to possibly amount to an amendment, that'll give the members an opportunity to make those considerations. So you could share them, then when we get to that appropriate point,
Okay.
they could act on it. So
You'll see in the non-personnel costs of the budget some reductions in several line items, including postage and shipping, printing and binding, publication and recordation, travel and meetings, contractual services, transportation, supplies and materials. There are budgets to various degrees, some 100%, some 50%. The total reduction in that is $3,580. At the request of Chairman Boudreaux, the Fire and Police Civil Service Board Chair, his intent in making those reductions was to take that $3,580 and give a raise to his employee, the Secretary 1. So he would ask for consideration of moving those funds to personnel costs.
okay, have y'all had a chance to review that? No. This personnel change, the request that's coming from Police and Fire Civil Service, he's bringing a request on behalf of the chairpersons, and they showing some savings in a number of line items, all of the non-personnel line items, and they want to rededicate that money to what amounts to a pay raise for the Secretary of the Police and Fire Civil Service Board. I tell you what, do this, have them send us something specific to that. I'm going to go ahead on and put in a request for wrap-up, so give them an opportunity to review it and digest it. But just if you could bring a message back, get with finance. Obviously, you all are already involved. But if they could provide to the council what impact that's going to have also with the retirement costs and everything else, give finance an opportunity to break all those numbers down, and we'll make that a consideration at wrap-up, okay?
Yes, sir, I will do. Thank you.
Still on 214, Fire and Police Civil Service. The manning table is 314. And this is the position that was being referenced. So you see what that person is making now, and according to their savings, that'll put that person right at about $36,000. But again, the impact on other funds as far as retirement and all of that, finance would need to look at that and spread it out, and then they could provide that, and someone could make that consideration at that time.
Mr. Boudreaux, I do seem to recall a little bit about this. They offered some reductions in some line items, and they did want to do a salary increase, but since we weren't doing a general salary increase, that's probably why we didn't put it in there.
Right. Well, I could just tell you that I don't want to get into the practice of departments reducing line items to give people raises. That's going to be a problem with me, because what we're going to do, we're going to start balloon them one year, and the next year we're going to say, look, let's cut this and give it to employees. So I want to be very careful with that. If the person wants civil service, does a complete assessment and evaluation, if it's justified and the funding is available, I'd rather consider it straight up for what it is. But I want to be cautious of that. And then as far as pay raises, we got a whole lot of conversation to have on that a little later. So again, it's on the record. We're going to consider it. Just let's get it in the right form, and then we'll consider it appropriately at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any green cards for Fire and Police Civil Service? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. We're going to now move to the coroner.
Hey, how are you?
This will be on page 126.
The coroner is also a parish mandate. Right now, the coroner is funded, in this proposed budget, 54% from the parish general fund. Some of the different court fines also go to the coroner's fund. So you'll see city and district court fines. As those fines are collected, there's a portion of each fine that's designated to go to the coroner. And, you know, often you hear us talk about we want to make sure that we're collecting all the fines, and that's because the fines fund so many different things, coroner, crime lab, et cetera. There's also some service charges that are self-generated within the coroner's office, and that's estimated to be about $429,000, or 37% of the coroner's budget.
Keith Talamo, Lafayette Coroner's Office.
Good to see you, Keith. Page 126 and 127, bottom of 126 and all of 127. Did you print out your request, Lanny James? Wasn't that dealing with that crime? Okay, so you don't need anything from them, okay? Okay. Seeing no questions, let's go to the Manning table, page 297. Top of page 297. A couple of clerks, an assistant, the coroner, an investigator. Okay, seeing nothing, that's pretty much it?
I'm good.
Good. Any green cards? No green cards. Thank you so very
Thank y'all.
much.
Good day.
All right. We're going to now move to the health unit. Going to be starting on 215. Ms. Toops.
The health unit is funded from the combined health millage. It's funded from the property tax. There are no changes in positions budgeted in this proposed budget. There's about a 3% increase in expenditures estimated.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Tina Stefanski, Office of Public Health.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
We're on page 215, health unit. Mr. Bellard?
Yes, contractual services, it looks like it's appeared to be doubling.
Mr. Bellard, could you just call out the line item, please?
266-9120-70907. Just curious to why.
Sure, yes, sir. So that is for we initiated a child psychiatry clinic at the Lafayette Parish Health Unit, and so we have unfortunately, there are no local child psychiatrists available to do that clinic, and in fact, there are very few in this community, and the few that we had, a few have recently left. So we want to increase clinics to twice a month at the health unit. We originally initiated this contract at once a month, but there's a need and a waiting list for her services.
So that service is doubling there for that?
Correct. Yes, sir, to increase.
Thank
you.
Thank you. And so, how much of this funding is still coming from Tulane?
So this is all, this funding is going to Tulane to contract with the physician.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So, and they send the individual to us?
Correct.
Okay. Page 287, capital. 2018 capital. Middle of the page. Seeing no questions there, let's go to 314 for the Manning table on the health unit, just above middle of the page. Okay, I think we good.
Thank you. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all, members of the council, Mr. Robideau, Duyan, for your support of the health unit. I can tell you that it's a model health unit, public health unit in the state. It's the second busiest in the state, but really the services that are delivered there are recognized statewide. And we're doing things here that no one else is doing across, across the state because of the recognized need. It could not be done without your support, so thank you.
Thank you. Any green cards? Okay, no green cards. Thank you very much. We're going to now move to the Cajun Dome.
The
Cajun Dome, we're going to start on page 141, members.
The Cajun Dome subsidy, you may recall, in the last fiscal year, because of the reductions required in the parish general fund, we reduced the allocation that the parish general fund was putting up towards the subsidy for the Cajun Dome. So the money they are receiving now is 100% from the city, and it is at a reduced amount from what was previously provided.
Mr. Davis, how you doing, sir?
Good to be here.
Any opening, anything you want to
Yes.
share?
Well, first, thank you for allowing us to come before you and to request this funding. We've been doing this for about 32 years now, and this subsidy started at $500,000 and has stayed at that amount for about 32 years. We understand that you can only give us $390,000, but we've done a pretty good job of keeping up with the pace of expenses at the Cajun Dome. When I first started working there, the budget was about $1.6 million. And as you can see, it's up to over $6 million now. So it's grown 3 times that much. But yet we've been able to maintain an operating subsidy at $500,000 for most of the existence of the Cajun Dome. For comparison purposes, if you go to the River Center, we went to the Legislative Auditor's website to find out what was the operating subsidy at the River Center in Baton Rouge. And from 2011 to 2015, their operating subsidy was from a low of $1.4 million to a high of $1.8 million. So I'm very, very happy with the efforts of the Cajun Dome to try and keep that subsidy minimized. Up to the time that we opened the convention center, the average of the subsidy was about $280,000, because the mission up to that point was to minimize the operating subsidy. When the convention center came online, those facilities are loss leaders. They don't make money. They lose money on the books of the facility. They do have an economic impact in the community. And so from that point forward, the mission statement changed to not to exceed the $500,000. And so I'm happy to say that we've been able to do that and to achieve our mission for 32 years of operation.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We're going to start on page 141, line item 76730, third item from the bottom, 392,065. I'm going to go to page 271. 271, this is the capital, city side. $100,000, that's at the top of the page, the very top of the page. Mr. Conk.
Greg, that 100 grand, what is it going to be used for?
We're going to put all of that money into parking lot renovations.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, there's no Manning table here, so this concludes their review.
Okay.
You good?
Thank you.
Any green cards? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move to juvenile detention. We'll start on page 134. Juvenile detention on 134.
The Juvenile Detention Center is funded 100% from a dedicated ad valorem or property tax. When we talk about these dedicated taxes, you should know that these taxes are deposited into a specific fund because it's dedicated for the Juvenile Detention Center. It goes into that fund, and it can only be used to pay expenses of the Juvenile Detention Center. In this budget today, you'll see an estimated decrease of about 3%. You will see some additional personnel, approximately 8. That's it.
Good afternoon. Bobby Cormier. I'm the fairly new administrator of the Lafayette Juvenile Detention Home. Being a new administrator, I don't quite know everything, so I brought Mr. Mike Rush, who I think can answer your questions if I can't answer them.
All right. On page 134. 134, Mr. Nakane.
Yes, line item 265-1255-50300, promotional costs, went from 26 to 99. Do we know what we're promoting, or what are we? (265-1255) then 50300, promotional costs.
That's the on-call relief workers, and we have, we're also promoting an attendant to a supervisor's position.
Okay, and that comes out of promotional costs, is that?
What we do is we put it in promotional costs. Some of these are called apprenticeship programs, so the employee might not be eligible November the 1st, they might be eligible December the 1st.
Okay.
So we don't actually move the money out of that account until they're eligible. So that's why it sits here, and then it gets moved into the salary line item when they become eligible for that promotion.
Okay, so in the budget, we're looking at hiring another person?
Additional, yeah.
Additional.
Right. We need, we went to from 8-hour shifts to a 12-hour shift, and in order to fill these 12-hour shifts, we had to hire these. These people were temporary employees already.
Okay, I got you.
And so we're going to make them full-time employees, and we have to make them full-time employees in order to work on the 12-hour shifts.
Shifts, okay. Good enough for me? That's all I have. Thank you.
Top of 135. Middle 135, juvenile detention kitchen. Bobby, on back to this, to have a clear understanding, some of these positions are shown as vacant. Why is that?
What position is shown?
Is that the creation of the position to be filled?
Part of the proposal is to move one juvenile detention attendant from a less than full-time position to a full-time position, a 32-hour to a 40-hour position. So it shows as a 0 on that line item as an asterisk by on the left side, AL for a less than full-time. So that's shown as 0, meaning it's moving from that line to the line above it. So the 8 juvenile detention attendant 2s to 9 attendant 2. So you're just moving that less than full-time to a full-time and no longer filling that position.
I don't know why, but we had 2 32-hour employees. That was like that before I got there. I don't know what the reasoning for that was.
And the same thing happens on detention number 1, juvenile detention attendant 1. It's now a 0 on the proposed budget. It's moving up to the one above it, which is a full-time position. and then making 6 people who are normally already working on-call relief workers, temporary employees, full-time with
So the positions that are shown vacant is where these individuals are going into, is
Right.
what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The net add is 2 positions rather than 8 because the 6 are already there as temporary.
Got you. But you're making them full-time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to capital on page 270. $89,000. Bottom portion of the page, replacing a copier. Page 298, the Manning tables. Starting at the middle of the page, juvenile detention Manning tables. All right, don't seem to have any questions. Oh, I'm sorry, wait.
My turn.
Mr. Cohn?
We're addressing inadequate property taxes across the parish. This is a property tax funded. Is it adequate to meet the needs, or is it being subsidized?
No, it is not being subsidized. It is funded 100% by that dedicated tax, and they did have some available fund balance. You could see that on page 49. And it's Fund 265, Juvenile Detention Facility. So even after these budgeted expenditures, they're budgeting to spend approximately what they're taking in, and they have a little extra, they have some extra fund balance for if they have some facility repairs or capital items that they need.
Okay, thank you, and I will be asking the same question for all dedicated property tax operations.
Sure thing. One thing he didn't point out is that I think the additional, changing some of the temporary to permanent, there was a reduction of about $70,000, if I recall, in overtime. So he's expecting to save money in overtime with these permanent positions.
Just some. Any green cards? Thank you.
Thank you.
Animal control. Starting on page 133.
Animal control is funded primarily from the combined public health millage property tax. It does generate some fees internally, but it is primarily funded from the property tax. Their budget is expected to increase about 8%, and they are adding 1 position. I do believe that we may have a proposed amendment for some revenue items.
Yes. As a result of the ordinance that the council passed last week, I do have a requested amendment on the revenue side of the budget. The additional fees that will be incurred for spay neutering is already in the budget, but I do have a requested amendment on the revenue side.
And we're handing that out.
Basically, right now, there are 3 revenue line items in the budget. One is a general shelter fee income, which comes from everything from adoption fees, boarding fees, also a bunch of different fees, fines, all of those things. I want to and we also have a line item in the budget on the revenue side for microchip fees and vaccination fees. If you would adopt a dog the way we've been doing it and you pay $100, $65 would go into the general revenue line item. We put some in the microchip and some in the vaccination. I'm proposing to change that and have the general shelter fee line item, which I will be reducing by 110,000. I'm putting in a new line item of I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I got that the wrong way around. Yeah, then it's going to be, the new fees will be 110,000. We're reducing it by 73. I'm doing away with the with the microchip fees and the vaccination fees. All will go into the general category. And the rabies tags fees will be 130,000. Heretofore, those were into the main general category. This is going to be an easier way for us to track them. These are the things that really, really matter. The net result will be an increase of approximately 50,000 in revenue from what is in the budget book that sits before you, and it will also have a decrease in the use of fund